There are 30 different rings in Stardew Valley to make your farming life a bit more comfortable. Well, actually it's only 29 since the jukebox ring is unobtainable, but somehow is still listed on the wiki. Some of these offer a great benefit while mining or in combat, while others are more of a quality of life feature. That's my intro, I don't have more to say, so let's just get started. Number 29 is the wedding ring. It is a multiplayer exclusive item and used for asking another player for marriage. That's it. That's all it does. The recipe is available at the traveling card and it's one of the most expensive crafting recipes in the game, with a whopping 5 iridium bars and 1 prismatic shard. You can equip it in the ring slot, though it has no other uses. Number 28, the topaz ring. Okay, so I didn't know about this because I literally never used this thing before I started making this video, but according to the wiki, this ring used to have different stats. The topaz ring had the precision stat, which would increase the weapon precision by 10%. Basically, it was completely useless. Since 1.6 this got changed out with +1 defense, which is still pretty underwhelming if you ask me. The topaz ring has a 0.05% chance to be found in treasure chests after reaching level 2 in fishing, or can be bought from Marlon at the Adventure Guild for 1000 gold. If you find this ring while fishing early on and you don't have anything else, then sure, go ahead, but please do not spend 1000 gold on this, it is not worth it. Number 27, the amethyst ring. Same as the topaz ring, this is available at the Adventure Guild after completing the initiation quest. It increases the knockback on your weapon by 10%. Equipping a second one increases it to 20%. I personally found this pretty irritating to use, especially against flying enemies like bats or magma sprites. Since they get so far knocked back, it just drags out the combat unnecessarily. So yeah, I don't see why you'd ever want to use this. Number 26 is the sturdy ring. I initially had this ranked lower, but hear me out. The sturdy ring cuts the duration of debuffs in half and is available for crafting after reaching level 1 in combat. The ingredients are nothing too complicated: 2 copper bars, 25 buckmeat, and 25 slime. I usually get kinda unlucky with rings early on, so if I had a free ring slot available, I'd definitely craft this. Yes, the only debuff you can encounter in the early levels of the mines is the slime debuff, which makes you run slower, but again, it's not like there's a lot of other options available anyways. One other noticeable perk of this ring, you can sell it for 750 gold at the Adventure Guild, which is more profitable than selling the ingredients you used for crafting it. Number 25 is the immunity band. As the name suggests, it adds +4 immunity to the wearer. The effect stacks with a second immunity band, making it up to +8. This is one of those rings that is in a really awkward spot because of how late you can get it. By the time you get the immunity band, which can only be found in the mines after you reach level 100, Skull Cavern and Quarry, you most likely already have boots that give you a decent amount of immunity as well, like the space boots for example, which are a reward on floor 110 unless you have randomized the rewards. If you want to be completely safe against debuffs, just wear the basilisk paw. Honestly, it's not worth a ring slot, let alone 2. Number 24 is the emerald ring. This adds a 10% increase to your weapon speed. The effect is percentage based and applies after any weapon speed buff effect. For example, a dagger with 0 weapon speed would get +1 weapon speed while wearing the ring, which makes it up to 40 milliseconds faster. While a club on the other hand that has 0 weapon speed would be closer to +2 weapon speed with the ring, as clubs are the slowest weapon type in the game. The rings stack with each other and is available after reaching level 80 in the mines, and it costs 5000 gold, and that's just way too much. I barely noticed the difference when I tested this with 2 rings, both with a dagger and a club, so again, not worth a ring slot. The warrior ring has a unique buff which is called Warrior Energy. Once that triggers, you'll receive +10 attack for 5 seconds. The chance of receiving the buff can be increased by luck buffs from food or the lucky ring. While 2 of them do increase the chance of getting the buff itself does not stack. I know for a fact that I never used this before. The only time I ever crafted this was on my last playthrough where I had to make it for perfection. I will say the +10 attack is nice, you can get some pretty impressive numbers with that, but the buff duration is so short and the crafting materials are a lot just for 1 ring. The frozen tears, fine, but 10 iron bars and 25 coal? I'd rather use that for something else. Number 22 is the Soul Sapper ring. It really pains me to put this so low on the list because this ring is actually pretty good. The Soul Sapper ring regains 4 points of energy after killing a monster. And for reference, you consume 1 point of energy per rock that you mine with an iridium pickaxe. However, it is only obtainable through common chests at the volcano. Energy is more an early to mid-game issue, so by the time you obtain this ring, you most certainly already have collected a few star drops, and you should never go into the mines or volcano without emergency snacks anyways. Not to mention, now we also have the Statue of Blessing, which can give you the Blessing of Energy for a whole day, as well as the Efficiency enchantment that you can put on all of your tools except for the pan. So I don't really see why you'd ever want to use this. Number 21 is the Ring of Yoba. You get the crafting recipe after reaching level 7 in combat. Like the Warrior Ring, it has a unique buff attached to it, which is Yoba's Blessing. When activated, it gives you 5 seconds of invincibility. The item description reads, occasionally shields the wearer from damage. And occasionally is very generous here. It also says that the lower your health, the higher the chance of receiving the buff are. It can activate once your health drops below 90, and the highest chance of receiving the buff is between 0 to 15 HP. The crafting materials are not that bad, I don't have anything to complain about that. Look, I don't know dude, when I'm low on health, I just eat a purple mushroom to get my HP up again. Crazy, I know. Number 20 is the Protection Ring. Same as the Soul Sapper ring, this can only be found in the volcano in common chests. This makes you invincible after taking damage for 1.6 seconds, and it can go up to 2 seconds with 2 of them. Honestly, I barely noticed that I had this on me when testing this. Again, because this is only available in the volcano, a lot of people might never actually even obtain this item. And even if you do, you most likely already have a better setup going. Number 19, the Thorns Ring. So this is the only ring that actually received a buff in the recent update. Unfortunately, it's still not that great. Now it stacks with a second Thorns Ring, and enemies that are killed by that will now also drop their loot. When an enemy deals damage to you, they will also take damage themselves. The crafting recipe is unlocked after reaching level 7 in combat. If this was available a bit earlier, then maybe I would use this, I don't know. While testing this in the Dangerous Skull Cavern with 2 Thorns Ring, I got between 5 to 39 damage, depending on the enemy that was attacking me. Maybe I'm missing something here, but again, because the crafting recipe is unlocked so late, I just don't think it's worth using. Number 18 is the Aquamarine Ring. While wearing this, it gives you a 10% increase for a critical strike chance. This has a 0.05% chance to be found in treasure chests, haunted skulls have a 1.3% chance of dropping it, and it can be bought from Marlon for 2,500 gold after reaching floor 40 in the mines. Needless to say, this works very well with any crit weapons, such as daggers, and you can pair it with the Jade Ring. I already mentioned this a couple of times in my other video where I rank trinkets, which you should definitely go and watch by the way, but fighting with daggers just isn't for me because of how little range you have, but I will admit testing this with the Jade Ring was pretty fun. Speaking about it, number 17 is the Jade Ring. This one adds a 10% increase to your critical strike power. Let's talk about that for a second, shall we? Crit power is a stat that will deal additional damage to enemies. There's only a handful of weapons in the game that have a permanent crit power on them. Most people probably seen it on the Obsidian Edge, since that's a reward that you get in the mines. The bonus damage done by critical strikes is equal to base damage times 3 plus crit power divided by 50. Let's take the Iridium Needle for instance. The needle has plus 200 crit power, which is also the weapon with the highest crit power in the game. If we divide 200 times 50, we get the crit multiplier, which is 4. Adding that to the base amount, that means the needle does 7 times the damage when hitting a critical strike, which is pretty ridiculous damage considering that this is a dagger. Also shout out to Mr. Penguin Panda, who has an amazing video on damage stats for Stardew. Number 16 is the Savage Ring. This was supposed to be lower on the list, but I forgot to move it, so just pretend this has a lower number or something. A Monster Slayer reward that you get from Jill after slaying 150 Shadow Shamans or Shadow Brutes. Upon defeating any monster, you will receive a +2 speed boost for 3 seconds. This effect stacks with other speed buffs like coffee or pepper poppers, even a buff you get from the Golden Spur. though not with a second Savage ring. I know in my last video I gave the Golden Spur a pretty bad rating, and I stand by that, though in combination with the Savage ring, it can be pretty fun to use. Unfortunately, it suffers from the same downside as the Warrior ring. The buff duration is way too short to be able to make this a permanent stay in my ring slots. Number 15 is the Vampire ring. Once again, another monster eradication reward from Jill after killing 200 bats, and after that you can purchase it from Marlin for 50,000 gold. Okay, so regaining a meager amount of 2 health per enemy sounds a bit sad, I know, but hear me out. This ring just needs a little bit of help. I tested this with 2 vampire rings, a weapon with the vampiric enchantment, and a fairy box level 5, and honestly, this build kinda slaps, not gonna lie. Dangerous Mines and Dangerous Skull Cavern can get chaotic really fast, even on good luck days. But with this setup, I had a pretty good time. Looking back at the footage now, I could have definitely ranked this even higher. If you're having trouble while dungeon diving, I highly recommend trying this out. This ring alone isn't special, but it shines in combination with other health recovery items. Number 14 is the last of the mineral rings, which is the Ruby ring. This adds a 10% increase to your attack. They stack with each other, so you can pump it up to 20% attack increase, and it has the same modifier as the Iridium Band and when adding a ruby to a weapon at the forge. Weirdly enough, you can also combine it with the Iridium Band, bringing up the attack increase to 40%. I mean, more damage is more damage. Whether you're using a dagger, sword, or club, every build profits from having more damage. Look, I can't have a good description for all 29 rings, okay? I'm allowed to be a bit lazy, alright? Number 13 is the Phoenix ring. Once again, this is another ring that I had ranked way lower, but that's because I misunderstood how it works. The item description reads, once a day regain some health after being knocked out. I thought this was referring to when you get knocked out and you wake up in the hospital with Harvey, that you don't have such a high health penalty, which in hindsight obviously makes no sense at all. What it actually does, upon reaching 0 health, the ring will refill half of your HP bar. This is great for Dangerous Skull Cavern, as this is where enemies hit like a truck and you can get overwhelmed pretty quickly. However, I decided to leave it in a middle spot. While the ring is really good to have, and I know that a lot of people are a huge fan of it, you can only get it in the volcano from rare chests. I had a lot of good volcano runs on my Riverlands playthrough, lucky rings, the deluxe pirate hat, a dragon tooth club, though not the Phoenix ring unfortunately. So again, this is amazing to have if you can get your hands on it. Number 12 and 11 are the Standard Glow and Magnet ring. Yes, I am 100% serious. Both the Magnet and Glow ring, whether you're using the small version or the regular ones, are invaluable items that are used in all of our playthroughs. Unlike most other rings, they don't outright give you any benefit in combat, but having magnetism and a light around you is a quality of life feature that you just cannot overlook. When I started my new save, I immediately hated how nothing would ever get picked up unless I stand right on top of it, or how dark the game actually is without any torches or the Glow ring. However, the Standard Magnet and Glow ring are lower on the list because they both get outclassed by the Glowstone ring, which I'll talk about in a second. Both of these rings can be dropped by monsters, found in crates in the mines after reaching level 40, Skull Cavern floors 1 to 39, fishing treasure chests. The Magnet ring can be a possible reward for the chest on floor 20 if you have the remixed options on, and the Glow ring is a guaranteed reward for the night fishing bundle if you have the remixed bundle in the community center. By the time you find either of those, it's very likely that you can already craft the Glowstone ring. Number 10 is the Hot Java ring. Java? I don't know. Coffee is a necessity in most Skull Cavern runs, at least for me. I like to pair that with spicy eel, though to be fair, a speed boost is always handy to have for basically anything you do. Whether it is mining, running around town, handing out gifts, it even applies when you're on horseback. I don't think that having a coffee production is an unpopular opinion, but the speed buff unfortunately only lasts for a bit over a minute, so you need quite a lot of coffee beans to keep up with that on a daily basis. That's where the Hot Java ring comes in handy. Enemies that are killed now have a 25% chance to drop coffee, and if that roll fails, a 7.5% chance to drop triple shot espresso. The only downside is that, same as the Phoenix ring, it can only be found inside rare chests at the volcano. Number 9 is the Crab Shell ring. Same as the Phoenix ring, I've been sleeping on this item. The crabshell ring gives +5 defense, and on paper that might not seem that impressive, but stacking it with a few other defensive items can make your trips into the mines so much easier. I tested this with 2 crabshell rings, mermaid boots, pumpkin soup, and the infinity blade also has +2 defense, bringing me up to 19 defense. Plus I also had Jack Be Nimble, Jack Be Thick, which gives a permanent +1 defense, so a total of 20 defense. This was a breeze. Pair that with the fairy box and a weapon with the vampiric enchantment, and royal serpents don't seem that dangerous anymore. After killing 60 rock crabs, you can pick this up from Jill and also buy it from Marlon for 50,000 gold. Personally, I think this is one of the more underrated rings in the game, and if you're struggling to stay alive in the caves, I highly recommend giving this setup a shot. Number 8 is the Slime Charmer ring, a reward from Jill after killing 1000 slimes. This prevents the slime debuff, as well as preventing slimes from damaging you. Slimes are the most common enemy in Stardew. They're pretty much everywhere. Regular mines, quarry, skull cavern, Ginger Island, volcano, and dangerous mines. Yep, everywhere. While as a single enemy they don't seem that threatening, but having 2 or 3 of the bigger ones attack you and then each of them spawn 2 or 4 of the smaller slimes can get out of hand rather quickly. This ring is always a great choice for any cave adventures, or if you're farming for the infamous tiger hat or tiger slime eggs. Number 6 and 7 is the Small Glow and Magnet ring. I think it's a bit weird that they can be found at the same levels as the regular Glow and Magnet ring, level 1 to 39, and they even have a higher drop chance, 17% instead of the 14. They can also be found in treasure chests while fishing as soon as you start a new save file. Also, the small magnet ring is a guaranteed reward for completing the adventure bundle in the boiler room. Other than that, I already said everything there is to say about them. Number 5 is the Burglar's Ring, collected from Jill after killing 500 dust sprites. For the uninitiated, the Burglar's Ring, when equipped, has a chance for monsters to drop twice as much loot. The effect does not stack with another Burglar's Ring, though it does work with the Monster Compendium. This is just really neat to have. Farming some dust sprites for coal, bones for Gunter's Fragments of the Past quest, or bug meat for Wheely's Juicy Bug Wanted quest. This ring is gonna make your life a lot easier with that. Number 4 goes to the Glowstone ring. You get the recipe for that after reaching level 4 in mining. The lightning and magnetism effect is the same as from the standard Glow and Magnet ring, so you can use the second ring slot for something else, or craft another one. The reason why I decided to keep this so high on the list, because I think this ring is useful for a pretty long time. Of course you eventually want to upgrade to the Iridium Band, unless you get lucky enough to find this in a fishing chest. Level 9 combat is far away. I don't know about you guys, but combat is usually the stat I max out the last in my game. Same description as the Glow and Magnet ring, just incredibly handy to have, no matter what you're doing. Number 3 is the Napalm ring. The Napalm ring is a personal favorite of mine. It's another reward from Jill after slaying 250 serpents. After that you can buy a second one from Marlon, and I believe that the 30,000 gold are completely justified. As you probably guessed, they do stack with each other. The Napalm ring creates a small explosion upon slaying an enemy. It does not hurt you, and since 1.6.4, it is also non-destructive on the farm and inside the slime hutch. This is usually my go-to combination with the Iridium Band, as it makes both combat and mining so much easier. On top of that, it also has great synergy with the Magic Quiver. Place number 2 takes the Lucky Ring. A fan favorite ever since it got introduced in 1.5, and probably one of the most sought after rings in the game. As the name suggests, the ring provides a flat +1 luck to the wearer. Luck determines quite a few aspects in the game, like the chance of finding treasure chests, obtaining trinkets from monsters, the slot machine in the casino, finding items in trash cans, but more importantly it affects your trips into the mines. How high the chances of finding ladders, geodes and prismatic shards, finding treasure floors, and so on. That's also why it's pretty important to check the fortune teller every time you want to dive into the mines. The reason why this is such a sought after ring is because you can only get it in the Skull Cavern, Quarry Mine, or by panning. If you watched my 100 days video, then you know I was very fortunate and actually found 2 of these in the same playthrough. One in the Quarry Mine and the other I believe was in the Skull Cavern. And yes, they do stack with each other. Your best shot at getting a lucky ring is by panning on a very good luck day. You can further increase your luck by eating a lucky lunch, pumpkin soup, ginger ale, or better yet, magic rock candy. Also, I'd recommend the reaching enchantment for the pan, since a lot of the panning spots on Ginger Island can spawn a bit further away. If you happen to grind during the Desert Festival, then you can get another luck buff from the chef by ordering any of the following meals. If you get your hands on one lucky ring, you should never take it off anymore. And we're finally at place number 1, which is of course the Iridium Band. Are you surprised? Because you really shouldn't be. The Iridium Band combines the effect of 3 rings: the Glow, Magnet and Ruby ring. This is the late game ring that everyone has on their character once they can craft it or find one. As I mentioned before, you get the crafting recipe after reaching level 9 in combat. There's a very slim chance that you can get this in treasure chest, as well as a special drop in the mines after activating the Shrine of Challenge. And since 1.6, Iridium Golems have a meager 0.1% chance to drop this as well. This is the ring that you want to combine with any other ring once you unlock the Forge or Mini Forge. Don't think I have much more to say about this. And that concludes my ring tier list for Stardew Valley. Same as when I ranked the trinkets, I tried to put them in an order how I thought they were the most useful, whether that be in the mines or in general. There's quite a few rings that I just don't have a lot of experience with or simply never even used except for the video. So if there's something that I completely missed or looked over, then please let me know in the comments down below. This video took a lot longer to make than I expected, so if you're still here, then please leave a like if you haven't already. It helps me out a ton. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite ring or ring combinations are. I always love reading you guys' comments. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.